Hey everybody, welcome back to Eliter Book Club. I am Matt.
I'm John.
And this is going to be our review of Terminator Dark Fate.
Yeah, which came out like 10 months ago.
I'm going to post this really fast, and it's Halloween.
Sure, it's Halloween. You know, this isn't just a normal Tuesday for him.
It's Thursday, the 31st.
Right, it's Thursday the 31st. Anyway, we just saw Terminator 10 months ago, and so we're gonna
Terminator 3.
Yeah,
Like,
it is. It's T3.
Oh yeah,
this is the official T3.
Oh right. So yeah, let's get into this. Makeup and Halloween costume aside, go for it. So what do you think overall? Just
I liked it. I thought it was pretty strong. It opens up with like action right off the bat. Are we talking spoilers in this one, or is this
no? It's gonna be spoiler free.
All right, so it's not gonna ruin anything. Like action, like within the first 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Just really kicks off. So they do some setup, do some fun like throwback kind of stuff to remind you of T2, because as was sort of discussed, I think overtly, that this ignores anything after T2 in the 90s, right? So
yeah, for sure.
T3 and the Christian Bale one, and none of that ever exists in this world.
Yeah, I think they did a really good way of world building and exposition without just blatantly talking about things. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
or at least they sparsely put it throughout.
Which, I mean, to be fair, like, for those, I mean, Terminator's been around since the 80s now, and so most of us are familiar with what it's supposed to be about, what this world is, and all that.
That's true.
So it's really fun how it decides to alter things a little bit to readjust for this storyline that they're doing in this movie. And so let's just get down into some more generic technical details. What did you think about the effects?
Yeah, I thought the effects were pretty incredible, but also they are very, very spot on and incredible. But one thing I will say is it almost made me appreciate Terminator 2 even more. That being based back in the 90s, you know, how great
the liquid metal and all that.
Like that was pretty excellent for back
at the
then.
time.
Yeah, I mean it still fairly holds up. I mean, granted, yeah, of course they have a lot better processes today, and you know they're able to do even more with it. But I mean, and maybe that's an homage in and of itself that they kind of kept it of the same style.
Yeah, I mean they had a good mix of practical and CG effects. I mean there was a lot of CG, no doubt, but I think they did do some nice practical things, especially with there's chase scenes, car explosions, that kind of stuff. You have a mix. I mean, to me there's some plots where you can say, oh well that looks like it's CG, but it still looks like high quality CG.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I feel like this is. I don't know what the budget is on this film. I would assume fairly high, but at the same time, since they've bet on Terminator so many times at this point, I don't know if it was a mid-budget film. If that makes sense.
Well, you got James Cameron came back as producer and did some really. I mean, I think he was really passionate about this. Also wrote story for it, and then you have Tim Miller, who has proven himself to be a capable director with Deadpool. And I think this just kind of furthers that. Like, it's a really well-directed film. Good cinematography.
Yeah, for sure. Like,
pacing's really nice.
The action was really... Which, I mean, he did a lot of action with Deadpool, for sure. But I just felt like none of the tropes were overused, in my opinion. Like, you know, like I felt like it was well balanced. Like, you know, of course they had some slow motion, which is a normal part of things now. But nothing felt like it was like, oh my gosh, they're going back to this well again. They're going back to this. I felt like overall, like all the action was fairly solid. I mean, I'm not gonna say this is a perfect movie by any means,
no, but I mean, it does everything well. And even within its own franchise, they didn't do a lot of callbacks to the old stuff. Like you have a couple of like throwback lines that are reused, you know, from the "I'll Be Back" era, but you know, they didn't just rely on that. They didn't rely on any of the other sort of throwback lines that you would expect. And
there was a few, and you saw some of this from the commercial, and we won't say specifics.
Thank
you. But that being said, it's funny. I'd noticed that a lot of times they said some of the same things and like almost in a different way.
Oh yeah, they did some nice turning,
like little homages. If you've seen it, you'll or if you're a fan, you'll be like, oh, that they did pretty much the same thing, but in a completely different way. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, some nice turns of phrase.
What do you think of the acting overall?
I thought the acting was really well done. I mean, they had really good actors in this movie. Of course, the head kind of leads Sarah Connor,
Linda Hamilton, right?
Linda Hamilton, yeah, and then of course Arnold Schwarzenegger is a Terminator, returning Terminator kind of figure, and then you have I forgot to check the name because I've forgotten already.
Yeah.
I've
heard him, but I don't know.
I know her who played the lead sort of protector.
Right, correct.
Grace is the character name, and for some reason her name slips me, the actress. But she did, all three of those are solid actors. Who did really good. And then I didn't really know the main girl who was being protected.
Correct.
Or I know I recognize the attacking Terminator in this movie, but
I thought he was
think
really
of his name.
good.
He's a really good actor, and I know I've seen him. And it's just one of those things we didn't really look up the names before we shot this. So.
Right. And because, we don't prepare.
That's right. We don't really read either.
If we looked it up, we wouldn't be able to read it. We'd have to, sound it out. And it would, yeah, we wouldn't get it. But I thought that the villain overall was very haunting and very good. The actor performed well. And one thing and granted, I was younger when I saw these, I guess Terminator 1 and 2 were both very violent, I'm sure, for their time and everything. Well, yeah. But this was unapologetically violent and had, you know what I mean?
It was action. They definitely went for the rating in this one. I think a little bit more, not only in the action, but some of the language they used.
Yeah, for sure.
It dropped a few more F-bombs than
I was expecting.
Yeah, in the previous ones, and that.
Right, it made sense.
I think it worked for what they were doing.
Yeah.
Location-wise, I thought they did an interesting thing where they had this varies a lot. Like in first Terminator, you're pretty much all in, was it New York?
I think the first one, or Chicago.
Chicago, is it?
Yeah, I know L.A. is the second one.
Yeah, L.A. is the second one, where in those two movies, you're pretty much just always in those cities. The entire movie is in a city setup, right?
Yeah.
And then, but in this one, there's actually some changes within the geography, and they do a really good job of capturing that and using it for the cinematography purposes.
Yeah, for sure. No, I definitely thought it was solid. I will say, just to kind of put a little bit of, some critiques back and forth, I felt that, which with a lot of these type of movies, some of the logic doesn't completely add up. Some things that just don't really 100% make sense, but makes sense for, I guess it makes sense for the way they let the story flow and actually seeing it, but I don't feel like it would be a logical step.
Yeah, it's always tricky with time travel because, it's really easy to fall in some really bad traps of things getting too convoluted, which I think was what happened for a lot of people in Genesis. Terminator Genesis. They just did so much with the time travel aspect of the story that it just got too complicated.
Convoluted. Yeah.
And so, but in this one, they, if you really think about it, it doesn't make all sense completely.
Right.
But it is consistent within the story. The story feels congruent while you're watching it, and
you're not really thinking about it that much.
Exactly, which is what the first two really worked for them.
Right.
Is it's not really about the time travel part. The time travel just set up this other thing, which is you have someone hunting down someone else, and it's
a very it almost has it's definitely an action, but there's also some horror elements and a little bit of jump scares to it. It was really good. It was really appropriate for Halloween, which this is. Okay, so instead of rambling on more, let's go ahead and give it a number. What are you thinking?
All right. I'll give this one 7.8.
7.8. Okay.
I mean, I'm right there close to an 8. It's one of those that's pretty high for me.
Right.
I'm a fan of this movie. I think it's classic, it's solid, and I think it rounds out a trilogy in the sense of if you take Terminator 1, Terminator 2, and this movie, it makes it really nice.
Yeah.
But there were, some of the plot points could have been tweaked a little better. It does stand out a little bit from the first two in that sense.
Yeah.
In certain key ways. But it's undeniably fun to watch.
Yeah, for sure.
Really good action, really good acting, and just for carrying on the tradition of what Terminator has been as far as an action sci-fi series.
Right.
It delivers that.
For sure. And so if I was like comparing this to the last few Terminators, I would give this like an 800 out of 10.
Right. Yeah.
But that being said, just off of probably my number, I think I'm close to you, not quite 7.8. I think I would go 7.5.
Yeah.
It's solid. It's good. If I'm thinking about it, like, I know Terminator has. I enjoyed it more because it's Terminator and because we haven't had that great of a Terminator in a long time.
Right.
So I guess for that nostalgic factor, I did like it more and I would give it a higher score. But if I'm trying to look at it more from just a pure entertainment side, and will I rewatch this and what did I think of the story? Right. And that brings it down to a 7.5 for me.
Sure. No, it's same here. So, it's fun. Again, we're not giving away anything with what we've said. So if you haven't watched it, I hope this helps you decide to go watch it, because I think you should. I mean,
absolutely.
Especially if you're any kind of fan of this genre or this series.
Right. Yeah. If you've given up on this series, I think this is something you should give a try.
Or if nothing else, go watch the first two and pretend the others don't exist.
Yes.
Like the fourth Indiana Jones.
And most importantly, like and subscribe.
And comment below what, if you've seen it, don't spoil it, but what did you think of it?
Yeah,
if you haven't, are you a fan of this series?
Yeah. I think I've seen comments from some of you guys who are really big Terminator fans. I'd love to hear from you guys what your opinion was. So talk to you later.
Peace. See you.